Joe in real life. I'm walking around my cul-de-sac topless, giving the neighbors a treat. So far off to a banger of a start, huh? So confession time. I've been thinking about the program I'm going to start, and it's like a very loose program that I came up. Well, I stole a part of it from Bromley, and the rest of it I came up with myself, and I'm feeling insecure about it, you know? And I think that's part of this whole struggle, for all of us. I think that if you follow someone else's program to the letter, then it's not individualized and you're running all kinds of risks, and they're potentially minor risks depending on how well the program's designed, but you also get a huge advantage. And that advantage is, at least emotionally, when you run somebody else's program and it goes wrong, it's entirely their fault. Like, in reality, that isn't true. It's your fault. Like, you're the one that did the thing. And even if it was entirely their fault, you're still the one that did it. So who cares, right? Like, you have to be, if you're not accountable for the things that you literally do, then you're no kind of adult, right? That's the lowest bar of accountability. You have to be accountable for the actions you take. Clearly, right? Now, but that emotional safety net is real. It's very real. And I know nobody wants to admit it. It will remain men together and a few women that follow. Hey, we all have our dignity, right? Nobody wants to admit that that's the case. But if you follow somebody's advice and you fall flat on your face, there's a little cushion, They fucked up. You didn't fuck up. Not completely. You share culpability. That's all I'm saying. So, when you write your own program, when you customize, you get rid of that safety net. And it's uncomfortable, I know that my principles are sound. This is more of a prehab rehab program that I wrote. So it's erring well on the side of caution. But I'm still insecure. And this morning I got up extra early. I had plans, but instead I just watched YouTube videos, instructional YouTube videos, to kind of belay some of these fears, to kind of buffer some of my insecurities. And they were all about modifying intensity, I think when the Squat Everyday program came out, which is now probably more than 10 years ago or 10 years ago, like when it first hit the public zeitgeist, people have been squatting every day for a century or more, like it's always been a niche thing, but it's also always existed. But when it first really hit its groove, I think it's like 10 years ago, there were a bunch of people that came out against it, staunchly against it. This is a dumb idea, and you're going to fuck yourself up, I don't want to go into the counter arguments or the arguments because they're kind of obvious. And since that first wave of backlash, people have changed their tune a little bit. Certainly, it can be done with beneficial results. The key is you have to modify intensity, right? And this is now the banner everyone's waving in the Squat Everyday parade, right? Modify intensity. You can squat every day, and you can benefit from squatting every day, but you cannot squat hard every day. And how you modify intensity is going to be extremely idiosyncratic, individual, like person to person. It could vary wildly. And that's been my experience with this, you know? Like, forget about person to person, even me, month to month, it varies pretty wildly. And needs to be adjusted, you know? And anyway, watching these videos, thinking about this topic, hearing those words, which are really my own words, but they're said by another person, so I get that nice buffer again, you know? Has really, like, it's like, yes, this did work well, and it's been working well, and I'm still going to do it. But I have not modified intensity very well. And when I keep talking about Candido, I really enjoyed Candido. But when I did that Candido, I did not modify my intensity even remotely well enough. And I paid for it, you know? And I had issues before that. It's not Candido's fault. It's my fault. But again, I'm still enjoying that little buffer, aren't I? You know? Like I needed to modify intensity. I needed to take recovery and restoration, soft tissue work much more seriously than I did. And that's kind of why I am where I am right now. So, what's the takeaway? I think it was Dean Karnazes, the great ultra runner, once said, when it comes to fitness advice, listen to everybody and follow nobody. And I'm sure that's just general good life advice that he stole from some sage, you know, probably the Stoics or some shit, you know, Epicureanism or something. As trite as that may be, it's good advice, you know? Like, everybody has a piece of the puzzle. Everybody. No one's so stupid or inexperienced that they don't have something to offer, assuming they're a practitioner on any level. You know? And it's like we have the enormous advantage of living in the future. I'm talking to you on a phone right now. Like, potentially at least, millions of people could see this. They won't. Maybe 100 will, which is awesome. But like, we have the power to reach out to each other and respond. We can crowdsource our tactics. That's incredible. That's incredible. You know? I grew up in the 80s. To my child self, it's more than incredible. It's magic. Actual magic. You know? So, definitely listen to everybody. But also, you're you. You're an experiment is n equals 1. You got to write your own parameters. You got to come up with your own theorems. You got to do your own thing. Even Bromley, who, this is a drum I've been beating, but I believe is the soberest voice in strength sports on YouTube, by far. Brian Alshery too, but you get the idea. I cannot follow his advice to the letter. I can't. Because it wasn't written for me specifically. I'm a 46-year-old man. He doesn't have a program on his app called "This One's for Joe Basler." You know? You have to be accountable. So, I talked a long time again. I'm going to do some squats. I think I want to do a pin or maybe a box. And I'm really digging the high bar. I know it isn't a proper high bar. But for my body, it's pretty high. Like, I think it's technically a John Hack style mid bar. But, I mean, John Hack's mid bar is higher on him. His looks like a high bar to me. But it's not like an Olympic weightlifting high bar. I think that's his body shape, you know. He's got pretty ordinary proportions, as my eye tells me. Whereas mine's pretty goofy. I'm pretty lanky. My legs are a weird shape for my torso, length at least. And like I could low bar essentially below my traps, like pretty easily. And I'm talking the third tier of traps. Like I could get that bar like here. I really could, you know. I could do like almost a Zercher that way. So this is a pretty high bar for me. That's all I'm saying. I think I want to try and get something heavy-ish. And then I'm going to start the 8x2, 3x6 tomorrow. And I'm going to squat and do pull-ups that way twice a week. And I'm going to do knees. I'm going to do Ben Patrick knees over toes. Upper lower split the rest of the days. And I'm going to pull my sled. I'm going to do my runs, my breathing, my meditation, enjoy my life. And I'm going to trust my process. And what do the kids say? Follow my bliss. I got to follow my bliss a little bit, you know, because I can't afford to hate weightlifting. There are days, and I don't like saying this because I have a wonderful family and a pretty good job, but there are days in this life where my time in the gym is the only thing I enjoy. And I cannot afford to make it a chore, a thankless chore where I just suffer. I just can't do that, man. I can't, you know? And maybe that makes me a puss boy. Maybe it does. But I really emotionally, I gotta look you in the eyes when I say this. Emotionally, I cannot afford that. I can't. So, stay tuned. Let's do some squats, huh? All right. I love you guys. Coming up. With all this hemming and hawing that I'm doing, one would, you know, be forgiven for assuming that I'm disgruntled, dissatisfied, angsty, maybe even depressed about the way things are going. And that just isn't the case. I actually am really happy. I wish my training had a more linear line. I wish something like that was going on. But life is good right now, man. I'm happy, you know? I'm coming up on 9 months sober after my last humiliating little relapse. And I have many, many blessings in this life that are continuing to bloom in surprising ways. And yeah, you know, I'm a little irritated with my training program. But if I'm totally honest, and I always strive to do that here with you guys, I recognize that that's part of the game. You know, that if it went smoothly, if it went perfect, I wouldn't want to play. I wouldn't like it. And so, I don't know. I hope I'm not giving off the wrong idea. Yeah, I've had some stops and starts. I've had some outright false starts. I have some complaints about these old bones and how they're functioning. But that's the game I agreed to play, that we all agreed to play. And I love this fucking game. I really do. This having a puzzle to figure out, having time just to spend with myself and work on a petty thing. And I don't mean petty in the usual sense. I mean that it's deliberately small and unimportant. you know, but still worth attention. And still, like, aren't all games petty, you know? And if you pull back from the scene far enough, can't you recontextualize almost anything to the point where it's petty? Petty, I don't think always means bad. And that's a semantic discussion that is not interesting. I love this. I love this game. I love this little gym I made in my unfinished garage. You know, I bought all this equipment during COVID. I spent money I didn't really have. And I was like, you're nuts, dude. You just have a gym membership. Gym memberships are cheap, you know? And I'll tell you, it's only been a couple years, but this gym has already paid for itself twice over. And it was the best stupid decision I've ever made, like by far. This alone time is like my sanctuary. It's, you know, part altar, part operating table. And I just love it here. I love doing this, and I'm so grateful for it. You see me doing a little mobility drill. I think I stole off Squat University. Basically, you take a band and put it around your ankles. I was doing this up on the knees, but it's far more effective around the ankles. I didn't think that would work. It does. I build up to 205 on the box squat. My box is 10 inches, 11 inches. I think it's 11-inch milk crate. And what I'm doing is kind of like a loaded progressive stretch in the deepest squat. I don't really need any help with that, but I'm kind of going heavy with the kettlebell so that I activate the glute med. I activate a host of side muscles, you know, working in cohort along that iliotibial tract. And then I'm doing a forward fold, feet about hip distance apart, still getting that activation in the glute med and folding forward over, because as a yogi, I had really good forward folds. I still do, but they were passive. I would cheat those folds by going like limp, you know? And that's fine in yoga postures. Often it's even advisable. That's case dependent, but you get the idea. It's an incredibly bad neurological pattern to have in weightlifting. And I'm slowly coming to terms with that fact, that much of what I did as an Ashtangi is really costing me when I have like over my body weight axially loaded. So part of why I want to dive into the Ben Patrick, the knees over toes work is to help correct some of these lousy neurological pathways that I created. And that means I got to start at ground zero at the bottom and build my way back up. And I'm excited by that. Like, I like that idea, you know? A lot of his work is stolen from Chuck Poliquin. I say stolen, he credits. And kind of the prehab, rehab, physical therapy world. You recontextualize them a little bit, but it's just smart thinking, you know? You're strengthening the weakest range of motion. You're working in the 20, 25, 30 rep range, typically one set. So try to think about it instead of a number as like within range of failure, you know? Like form failure, not total devastating fatigue. But yeah, anyway, that's it for today. I love you guys. Be good to each other out there. You're gonna see my last one here. This is a 70-pound kettlebell. And I filmed it this way so I could post it on the shorts. But I only hold these for a few seconds each for the demo. But when I'm finishing off with this, 20 to 30 seconds, even 45 seconds is more advisable. Now, less important for this position because I've already hit it so hard today, but the forward fold, the loaded progressive stretch, you really want about 30 seconds. And you'll see that my back is pretty rounded here. I'm not concerned about that because the hips, the sides of the legs, the ankles are active, and that's really what I'm aiming for. Should I cue a straighter back? Probably, but you also can't handle that many cues. So anyway, that's it. The video was too long, and I still have more to say. What I was saying, what I got cut off on is that, like, have 3 or 4 cues when you're doing a movement like that, and don't worry about the rest, you know? I think people have a tendency to over-intellectualize and over-analyze mobility work. 3 or 4 strong cues, keep them in mind when you're in the position. Don't worry about the rest. If you get a little lazy here or there, those things correct themselves over time. If you agonize over it, you just won't do it. Like, I got no reason to lie to you on this. Like, you can't keep 8 cues active and running in your brain when you're under duress in a serious mobility movement. You can't. And over time, you'll integrate those cues so thoroughly that you can get more nuanced because you won't have to remember the ones you've integrated. You'll just do them. That's it. Joe in real life. I love you guys. Be good to each other today. I'm going to the farmer's market with my kids, and I'm going to have fun today. It's my day off. I'll see you tomorrow.